Hello, I'm Robb Lightfoot, and welcome to Com20 Intercultural Communication. I'm going to go over the syllabus in the class, and I can guarantee you this is not the most exciting moment we're going to have, but I think it'll help you get a sense of how to approach this class and spend time to doing what you need to be doing and not spending endless hours figuring out what I want or putting your efforts where the point values are low or the payoff and the content is not, the most top of the list things to learn because we're going to have a lot of stuff and I think you're going to find it interesting, but you'll see in a moment we have kind of a contractual obligation to cover certain material. Other materials we'll get to as kind of a bonus. So let's go pull up the syllabus and we will go to the class website. We are there now. And if you look, you'll notice that it has all kinds of numbers, aren't they exciting, that can be helpful at times if you're interacting with the administration and need to tell them what class you're in this particular section, which will vary from year to year and semester to semester. It lists me as the instructor of record. Basically, I want to be contacted through Canvas Mail. I'm usually online about noonish, Monday through Friday, but not always. This is an asynchronous class, so it means we're not necessarily going to interact in real time, but if you need to get a hold of me, I will be available, and we'll figure that out. I do travel some, so sometimes I'm working when it's in the middle of the night, but who knows, maybe you're up in the middle of the night. There's a thing called the friendly syllabus here, and this is an effort to take this long, tedious document and break it into pieces that you can jump around in. I'm going over it now, but you may find that to be helpful. We could actually pull it up, see if it works here. This will be exciting. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. And here we go. Here's what this website looks like, and a slightly younger version of me. And some links down here you can hit that'll take you to various things on, if you have learning situations that need help. And I'm pretty familiar with this because I'm ADHD myself. My kids have it. It's a family tradition, and it impacts how you learn. One of my now adult kids had dyslexia, and so reading was challenging. And the good news in all this is the community college system has all kinds of resources to help you, all kinds of experts in accommodations galore. Now, what you're going to find is in this class, I'm not big on timed tests and whatnot, so that's not going to be a feature, but usually there's that. Student learning outcomes, very small, just because this is what we have to show the state we're going to monitor. We switch it at times. But if you look down at the objectives, what we want you to come away with, they're fairly numerous and comprehensive. And that's why there's so much material, and so much material that I think you'll find helpful and interesting. The course content is laid out in 6 parts, and you'll find that the book does cover this, not necessarily in this order. Some textbooks go to great trouble to have their content organized exactly as you'll see in something like this outline, but I don't, and we'll get to that in a moment why that is. Over the years, I've taught using other people's textbooks, some of which I really admire, but they've gotten to be just hideously expensive. So what the state of California has supported many of us in doing is putting together our own textbooks through a collaborative process. So you look at the Intercultural Toolkit. It's my textbook. It's available here for free, both as a total download in PDF form or chapter by chapter in the modules, which makes it easier to follow just what we're supposed to be doing. I've written a number of chapters in it. Other chapters I've used through a collaborative. Other people provided them. And probably in the years to come, I'll go on and rewrite pretty much the whole thing because I'm an author. I write humor, but I also have done nonfiction. I've been a journalist, and you'll learn other things about me going forward. The stories to study is something to check out, and I think you'll find that helpful. It is a work that looks at kind of case studies. One of my biases is, I think, stories, and you look at the visual behind me. Stories are wonderful for learning a lot about ourselves and our culture. My first master's thesis, I have a couple, I did looking at how stories kind of explained how 2 different Native American tribes competed in the courts with the federal government to obtain land that they both thought belonged to them. And I used a thing called Walter Fisher's narrative paradigm, which you'll see in this class repeatedly. And it basically says that we tell stories to explain who we are, how we go about seeing the world, and all kinds of things. So stories have weaknesses. They don't prove a lot. one story, it can be countered by another story. And so as a debate instructor, which I've taught too, I have kind of a quick way of explaining how you rank and evaluate competing pieces of evidence. So we'll get to that. But anyway, there's a real love of stories in this class, and we'll see that. This class has the traditional 1,000-point structure. There's nothing magic about that. It's just kind of a very quick conceptual way of looking at something and knowing how big a piece of your final grade it will constitute, and by implication, how much time you should or may want to spend on it. This class uses things called scaffolding or stacked assignments, where you start with something small, you do it, you save those things, and later at the end of the term, you can kind of put them together into a work that will count for more points. So in a sense, you get points for doing something twice, which I think is kind of cool. This explains a lot of these things. Weekly learning modules, things are put together week to week, and this is an accelerated class. It's going to be pretty intense, you'll see. And the discussions form a big part of it. There's two kinds of discussions. There's ones you do with video, and I think those are important. They make you more of a real person. And I know, like right now, I'm fighting a cold, so it's not necessarily always at our best. It's not being graded in terms of your quality of dress or attire. I'm wearing a sweatshirt, for crying out loud here. But it makes you more real to us. Now, I will admit we've had people along the way who have just been devoutly committed to not being on camera for a couple of reasons. One, I had a person who was actually a witness protection, and I honor that. We just had a silhouette, or she put up a slide of something. And the other was a person who was autistic and did a brilliant job in the class, but did not want to be on camera for not wanting to distract us with his appearance or mannerisms. And so we worked with that too. So if you have a compelling reason why video is really problematic for you, then we will not worry about that. The other kind of discussions are just textual based. But what I want you to see here is this thing in bold, Title V regulations. You really have to be participating in the class. This is not a correspondence class. You can just phone in and turn in the stuff. The legal registrations, everything from whether this class is accredited, whether student loans are available to fund things, come down to that it's a true college class, much like you'd get if you walked into the room somewhere else. The assigned readings you need to read, and in a timely manner. Stories to study, these are all things we'll be doing, come from the second book I assigned, the case studies. One of the things I found in the years of teaching this, and I've been teaching for over 40 years, this class for over 35 years, and one of the challenges was that there's a couple, and we'll talk about them. One is that the expectation is you learn ideas that you can apply to solving problems or having a richer intercultural experience. And the problem I found is a lot of people, they've noticed the ideas, like, for example, some cultures are much more relaxed about punctuality, and on and on and on. There's more, America tends to be what's called a tight power distance structure, and you'll learn what that means. So basically it means we're more informal. It's not that unlikely you'll talk to your boss or your boss's boss. Other cultures, that is just unheard of. But what happens is, once you know this, well, what do you do with it? How can it help your communication? So I have found that by looking at stories and then saying, well, here's what would be helpful to do in that situation, you get to be a consultant. Now, you might choose to do something different than I would do. That's fine, not a problem. But at least you're thinking on how do you apply this. I think that's really important. You'll notice there's a couple of journals along the way where you're asked to kind of reflect on things with some writing prompts to hit. And the trick is make sure you answer the prompts. You can have, issues with grammar or spelling. I'm not going to ding you for that. I may encourage you to look for help because there's a bunch of it at the university, at the college, and you'll find that it will be worth your while. Facts only, we're asking you to watch a video and not get into whether you like it or not. That comes elsewhere. I do ask you that. But, just getting used to being kind of a journalistic thing of, what is actually being said, what is empirically verifiable, stats or facts or whatever, that if we all watch the same video, we would agree, yeah, that came out of that video. The final project is something I'm very excited about. I think you'll find the final project to be something very satisfying for you. It is where you get to find a problem you want to tackle. And I don't want to get ahead of myself here. There's a lot of explanation about this to come. You can do it and report your results in the form of a paper. a lengthy, full-on traditional term paper, 8 to 10 pages or more. And I think the 8 to 10 pages may be going up from that. I'll have to check. I forget. And but if you don't want to do that, you can do just a public speech with an outline. You can record yourself talking about it. Some people hate doing that. Other people, oh my gosh, they'd rather do that. I've been a speech teacher for years. There's people who are loud by nature or gregarious. Other people would just, they'd rather be in the casket than being a pallbearer and giving a speech at a funeral. That's the old, a version of public speaking story. And then I'm a media person too. I love doing videos and documentaries and whatnot. So if you want to report out in a video format, that's great. And the other thing is you can do some hybrid and you can also work with other people. The proposal for the final project comes a few weeks before it's due. I just want to know what you're planning. And I'm not necessarily going to say, well, you can't do that. But if every single person is looking to do a presentation on, well, I don't know, what it's like to go to London or something, you should know that, well, okay, but there's going to be a lot of action on that. You might even want to team up with other people doing the same thing. Or you might want to know that, I would like to know if you're planning on doing a video production, well, do you have the tools you need? Do you want me to provide some video how-tos? I've got that stuff. I don't always put it up, partly because when you look at the modules in my class, they seem to go on and on and on, and there can be intimidating, and that's not my intent. Some of this stuff can go very quickly in the modules. And on that subject, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of quizzes. There's something like 24 or 25 chapters that you'll be looking at. And I have quizzes in each plus a comprehensive final. Some of these, the way to approach the quizzes is just to try taking it. You can take them multiple times, you get the highest score, and see what you know going in. Maybe you're good to go. Maybe you don't even need to spend a lot of time reading the chapter because some of the course content deals with general communication theory. And the idea is if you've had other classes, maybe you know this. I don't want to bog you down, but you should know it to be successful in the class. So I have split our textbook into two sections. There's a, kind of section one, so you'll see 1.2.3. Those are all chapters that deals primarily with theories and intercultural. And we borrow a lot from anthropology and sociology and other social science disciplines. The section two stuff is all pretty much straight up communication theory. And that's really useful and it applies. What we often differentiate communication by is it one-to-one, one-to-many, one-on-one is like interpersonal, one-to-many is public speaking, and then there's a small group which is often team-based and tasked with doing something, like when we're doing something at work. And there's a lot of valuable ideas there that often get treated very briefly in a class on intercultural. I think it's important they're there, but I'm trying to do it in a way, if you already know it, it won't bog you down. And when in doubt, just zip over the chapters, go to the bottom, and look at the list of vocabulary terms. Sometimes that's enough. One of the things I suggest for anybody studying is open a chapter, kind of just look at the whole thing, look at the diagrams, look at the images, go to the end, look at the vocabulary. Then if you need to, read the chapter. I realize you have probably competing obligations, other classes, work, kids, family. Just who knows? It's intense, and this is an intense class. It's a full 3-unit class, but I also want to make it doable. So the quizzes are there, and the reason I let people take them time and again and get the highest scores, I kind of view them like flashcards almost, because they don't constitute enough for you to just succeed in the class without doing some of the other discussions, which are a centerpiece, or the final project. Classroom policies, how I teach, you're gonna see that. There's some video. We'll have discussions. There'll be websites you interact with, and policies. Let's stop and look at this. You need to be respectful. If you're causing problems for other people, I mean, you can drive me crazy. I'm used to it. I raised 4 kids. I've been teaching for over 40 years. You know, I'm a debate coach who took people on outings where they disappeared on me or got drunk. Don't do that. Don't do that to your teacher. But electronic messages, I generally respond pretty quickly. But on weekends, I try to take them off. I know you can't always, so believe me, I've been there. Participation is central, and we look for not just the quantity of posts, but the quality. Just not, I agree, but yeah, I agree with that because I found your points on silence, let's say we're talking about silence, to be right spot on, because I've had that same experience, and you might tell a story or something. And classroom etiquette, I tend to be informal. You can call me Rob, and just call me for dinner, right? And You need to know in terms of class materials, some of the stuff you'll see would be considered R-rated. There's language in it. Not that I'm putting it there for that effect, but there may be people who are angry, or there may be indications of behavior that you find not the sort of thing you want to see happening in front of your kids. So you might want to be mindful as you're watching videos if there's little people in the room to kind of preview them. Like I say, I don't go out of my way to get stuff that's going to make people annoyed, but the world is big and behaviors vary, and what's appropriate in one context may be disturbing in the others. And we'll be talking about that. Late assignments, I have recently gone through training, even after years of teaching, I'm always looking to improve. And a long story short is I've been convinced that the traditional way of simply punishing people for turning things in late by taking points away or not accepting it creates problems. And believe me, I have been there. In terms of having jobs, I had to drop out of school a couple of times because I had jobs that wouldn't work with me. People get sick, cars break down, employers go, no, you got to show up. So we try for flexibility, but you have to realize you can't do the whole class in the last week of the semester. And if you're going to get feedback from your classmates, you've got to more or less stay up week to week. You may fall behind, but please catch up and let me know if something's going on. I can't solve all the problems in the world, but we have a lot of really helpful people on campus that I think you'll find to be wonderful resources. So don't overlook that. The uh, the thing I have compromised on is the first half of the semester I'll take stuff up. The date will be announced clearly, and at that point I have enough time to look at it, give you feedback, and you have information that will help you do better going forward. If you're doing work that's not what I'm looking for in terms of you're not speaking to the issues, or I don't understand your writing or whatever, if you find that out in the 11th hour and you've gotten partial credit and everything, that's not going to serve you well. But the sooner you can get on things, the better. And likewise, at the end of the semester, I'll take stuff clear up to the last couple of days of class. But if you turn things in late and you need feedback to do the bigger projects, you have really lost the opportunity. So, but in terms of a mechanical formula, I don't have that anymore. That may or may not be a good thing. Grievance policy. If you think I'm being unfair, please don't feel that you can't reach out to my boss or anybody. Because for one thing, I want to be fair, and you can let me know, hey, think you graded me in a way that's not consistent with what you said. I've changed a lot of my rubrics. I pulled out the late penalties, and so that's not there. But you may see some, because it was quite a substantial effort to do a lot of this. And once in a while, I'll miss some rubric or some phrase or something somewhere that's inconsistent with what I'm telling you now. So do realize that what you're hearing now is pretty much the straight shot and the way things are. For example, extra credit, I used to offer extra credit to mitigate people being late. And what was pointed out to me in some of my training was that having the extra time due to extra credit is sometimes kind of a privilege. Some people just don't have the time or the bandwidth. Literally, they may be in a household where they get this much time to use the internet, and just expecting them to come back and keep at it is a problem. So we're going to be mindful of that. Success in the course deals with you being here regularly, not necessarily every day, but you can't go 2 weeks in a shot and check in. In fact, you may be dropped for that. And if you're not here regularly during the first week, you may be plug maybe, but we have people waiting to get in this class almost always. And if it gets too big, it gets unwieldy. But so there's a kind of a dilemma. Did people just sign up and not sure if they're going to take it, and they don't show up? I understand that, but it also means that we've got to try to accommodate people. It says guests and children can't be present. This is not a physical classroom. Had people show up with dogs that scared other people over the years, and kids that were unruly. And so because of insurance or whatever, that can't be. Yeah, you're going to be in your home or a workplace or your car or wherever you're doing this. That's up to you. But do realize if we're trying to focus on you and people are in the background doing things, it could be distracting. Academic honesty means you do your own work. It's kind of detailed. And the use of AI, I mean, I will tell you, I use AI to generate a lot of images. It's really helpful. I do it in a way that's legal, and I can use them for, the image behind me was generated by AI. So in storytelling, and again, yay stories. But you need to write your own stuff. If it's got misspellings or grammar problems, you'll still get good credit, full credit. Um, because it's part of what you need to learn, and it's part of really having you understand this. But I use things at times if I'm having trouble researching something. I'll say, where can I find an article on whatever? But then find the article, read it, think about it, and use it to inform your work. Student conduct, you have rights, and you can look at that. Academic accommodations, we're really big on making sure we do what you need. Often the accommodation is time. I try to make my class, with all the images and everything, conform to the expectations where, if there's visual impairment, that there's description of the images. A lot of the images in the book are just decorative, they're fun, but there are charts and graphs. And sometimes, if it refers to a chart or graph and there's not text in the chapter to indicate what the heck the numbers were, do let me know and I will fix that. It's your obligation to drop, and it's a bummer to drop. I've been there. As I said, I dropped out of college twice. Took me a while to get through, and it was expensive. And but I want you to understand that if for some reason you were to need to leave, I will do everything I can uh, to give you some flexibility so that doesn't happen. But if it does, please don't wait till after you're going to have to get a bad grade. And in accelerated classes, it is sooner. I will get you that information in terms of when those dates are. But I also want you to know that somebody who, because of family crises or financial problems, had to drop a couple of times. I think I understand how things happen. It doesn't, you don't need to be ashamed. You certainly don't, we don't need to advertise the whole class, but you need to know that I don't think any the less of somebody who has to stand down. And I understand how painful it is. And I try to teach this class regularly and use the same materials. And so, save everything. If for some reason you need to stand back, I really don't do incompletes anymore because I can't be guaranteed a part-time teacher now. I've taught at Shasta College for 30 some odd years now, but I am in the position of I you know it's the full-time faculty get first dibs and things, so I'm never sure if semester to semester I'll have a specific course. And of course that can be a problem if you're trying to graduate and you need to finish the class or whatever. So do all you can to finish, stay up, and realize that we'll work with you, but I do understand. Student resources here, there's a lot of places you can go for tutoring. Childcare is probably not an issue for you in this class, but counseling, financial aid, student wellness. You'll see references to things like, well, what if I'm having housing problems or whatever. And I got to tell you, one of the reasons I'm proud and feel a great sense of satisfaction teaching community colleges is we do more. The California Community College is the biggest system of learning in the world. It's humongous compared to anything else. And we do a really good job. We're not perfect. We wish we had more resources, but there are people that you will meet that I have met that have helped me, have helped my family in times of crisis. I had one of my kids got very ill, and it really turned our world upside down. And we had a lot of people help us. So I hope you have good health and that you don't have problems. But if you do, don't just disappear. Look at this list. These are clickable links. And if they've got outdated, because sometimes they move things around on me, let me know. And here's some FAQs that you can look at. And again, a list of, and this is clickable in the syllabus right over here on the website. And how much time should I dedicate? And it's like, you don't want to hear this, but the Carnegie formula says 3 hours outside of class per unit per week. So that's 9 hours plus, 3 hours of class. So it's like 12 hours. And since we're a double speed class, that's 18 to 24 hours. Do I think everyone's going to spend 24 hours in this class? Well, here's the thing. I tried to make this a competency-based thing. If you can do something quickly and demonstrate your competency, then more power to you. But I also do look at how much time people are spending in the portal. And if you have spent 5 minutes in the portal over 2 weeks or something and you're behind and everything, there's the old assessment tool that's called time on task, and that teachers look at, how much time a student is spending doing something. Now, some people are more efficient than others. Some people learn faster. Some people, their gift is in learning music, which I've struggled with. I love music, but it's, other people. My brother was always a better musician than I was because he just had that gift. It was an aptitude for him. I was better in math, so whatever you're good at, but I do believe anybody can learn anything. And I do believe this class is meritorious enough that you really should dedicate yourself to being successful because you can do it. And if you don't know, if something was one, you asked something and didn't get an answer, then you can click on me. Good. Here's a course summary, and of course this is going to change from semester to semester since I may leave this video up for a while. But you'll notice like some weeks it's like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. So this is a doable class. And what you'll find too is, let me come over to the modules here real quickly, if I can find it. And the first week, the first time you hit this, you will see week 0 getting started. And you have to do all of this stuff before you can see anything else in the class. Wow. But here's the thing, I mean, here's this. It's a welcome message. It's very brief, and you come down here to next, and you're on to the next thing. And it encourages you to adjust your profile settings and kind of set things up in the portal. So some of these are going to go very fast. Don't be freaked out by this. Now, some of the modules, there's a chapter that may take you a significant amount of time to read. And that's why you're always better to get going early. Get back to the modules here. And some of this may have material that you think is a little duplicative. So you can scan through it real quickly. Down here is an academic agreement that basically you're acknowledging you heard some of this, you're on board for things. There's a syllabus quiz because they do want you to look at the syllabus, even though I went over it with you. And here's where you first introduce yourself. And you're going to have to use whatever selfie cam you have on your phone or a webcam if you have a computer or whatever to capture a video and get it up. Now, it may take you a couple of efforts. And if you have technical problems, I can refer you to people. But this is what the class is going to look like. And I'll go on and show you what comes the week after that. You can see Clamp 1.2, why study communication. The things with one in them are things of the book that are really specific to intercultural. The things with section 2 are kind of review. And again, down here at the bottom under assignments, these are all quizzes. And you can blow through those. You can take them up to 10 times. You can go back weeks later and retake them if you say, oh, I suddenly understand that stuff. It's just I want you to know this material. And some of this is, again, it's very specific to intercultural. Some of it's more generic to communication in general. And you'll see assignments like video pick and pull where I ask you, what videos do you like? Which ones do you think I should get rid of? Because I'm always looking to improve the class. Anyway, it's fairly long talk here, and hopefully it's helpful. I will be making other videos. Many of them will be much shorter because I'm just going to talk about a chapter at a time, keep it bite-sized, and allow you to kind of jump around and focus on what you want to focus on. But please ask questions if you have a question. Know that people are here to help, and have fun. Focus on things that interest you. If you're into sports, look at the intercultural aspect of sports, or food, or art, or dance. And look for the stories that are revealing. That's the thing. That can be challenging to do, but we're going to hang in there. And in the discussions, keep in mind a lot of what you can do is you can spot other students who maybe have parallel interests and reach out to them. Or you can say, oh, wow, your story reminds me of a trip I took to wherever. I don't expect you all to be world travelers. I am now traveling the world finally that my kids are grown and I'm semi-retired. But much of the time, earlier, in many years, I loaded a van full of 4 kids and we drove around America all over the place. So international travel now is somewhat new to me. But my wife both have become travel agents, so we're doing a lot of it. And if you're interested in traveling someplace, I mean, it would be inappropriate for me to have you as a paying client, but I can offer you some tips, give you some advice, and point you towards people who can help you. So I love travel, and I have stories to tell and photos to share. But even if you don't think you're going to travel a lot, we live in a world where people who are from a different background in ways that may be wonderful or mystifying are all around us. And getting along better with folks like that, it lowers your stress, increases the chance you'll have fun. And in the end, that's we're taking the class for. So thanks for joining us. I hope that you have enjoyed yourself in this brief little time, and we'll shut it down and let you have the rest of the afternoon or morning or evening or whatever you're watching this to reflect on some of this. So take care. Have fun.